So, oh, awesome. So, I appreciate it, man. This is huge.
Yes, sir.
This is the new Texas Highway Patrol
Yes,
patch.
sir. That's what they wear on their shoulder.
Nice Highway Patrol patch. All right, guys. So we're here with Mr. Cody Cory, Outrider Investments. He's a self-employed man, but he used to be a part of the Texas Highway Patrol and Department of Public Safety, and that's a patch. And I appreciate that, man. That's
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
I'm honored
Yes,
to have that. So basically, I just wanted to come in and talk to you today a little bit about kind of you worked in a career field for a while, and then you kind of veered out of the career field into the private industry, private sector, and you do your own thing. So, I guess we'll just start here. What got you started in your business? Well, real quick, your business is they do oil production and oil service in that industry. So kind of a B2B type business. But anyway, so what got you started in the industry?
Basically money.
Money? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, law enforcement's pretty low paid deal,
Right.
and we got into bought a couple of trucks, and we're running them on the side, and the sideline turned in a lot better than the main gig, and
Right.
turned a couple of dump trucks into what we got here.
Right.
So it's kind of a waterfall effect, using one connection to the next.
One to the next. Absolutely. That's awesome. And I think that's very common.
Yes, sir.
People, they have a career and even sometimes go to school. They get a degree and they get out and they get into a job.
Mm-hmm.
The job isn't exactly what they thought it was going to be. The career in the industry isn't exactly what they thought. They have this ideal picture in their mind. They get into the real world, start doing something on the side or part-time and build that into something. I had a really good friend that spent years working in the oil field overseas, and he would go there for a month, home for a month, and in the month at home, he built an amazing business here to where he could pull out of the oil field completely. So it's really neat that you said that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff because I'm an entrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
And I love seeing people, bootstrap it and start a business and run. And the other thing is, and I mentioned this in some of the videos, a lot of people don't know this, but about 75-80% of the gross domestic product of the United States of America is built on small business, not big
Yes, sir.
corporations. And
Yes,
so
sir.
that's why I think it's huge. So anyway, you started this side business and it turned into something better than what you expected, and that
Yes, sir.
pulled you into that.
Yes,
So are
sir.
you enjoying it? What do you
I
what are you
love
loving?
it. I love the freedom. I love to be able to, and I've got two really good partners.
Right.
I can plug in and unplug, or just like this morning, say, "Hey guys, I got something going on. Can y'all cover for me?"
Right.
It's like, "Hey, we got it." And we can move in and out as we need to.
Right.
And pretty much be able to pick the team that I work with.
That's awesome.
With
Right.
the hands in the field and everything that we do, and it's really nice.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this: did that team just appear, or is that something that took some time?
We're probably in about the 150th incarnation.
I love the truth, man.
Yes, sir. But, other opportunities come up. You bring some guys in, and especially in our industry, some guys that maybe had some hard times, you bring them in, you train them up,
Right.
you give them a resume,
Right.
and then they take that resume and they can move on to better things, which is kind of hard on your heartstrings, but
It is.
But you want to see guys do good too.
It is.
I mean,
that is so cool, man.
and a lot of them I still keep up with, and we keep up with each other. We're still good friends. On the other side of the coin, you get some that come and go that are just
Just there, right?
just there.
I get it. I
There-
get it.
There's some really, really good ones out there.
So you just said something that I think is going to be huge for people out there, because I know I struggled with it a little bit early on in my business. But so whenever someone comes in with you, you kind of help them out a little bit. You guide them along.
Sure.
You teach them a trade, and then they build that resume,
Mm-hmm.
and then they leave. You don't hate them.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, this is going to sound horrible, but they're still a resource. You understand
Right.
what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
they have everything's about perspective. I've got but one narrow slice of the pie. There's 365 degrees around a circle.
Nice.
360 degrees.
Yeah.
But
No,
but you got everybody stands at one corner of that circle,
yes.
and they looking at the problem in a different way. And man, there's guys I call every day. So man, what's your take? I've done it with you. So man, what's your take?
Right. Absolutely. And likewise, I've done the same with you.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. It's great to have relationships. It's great, and I hate the word network,
Right.
but it's nice to have a network.
Absolutely.
And I use the word network as in I think of you as a friend more than just a button I can
Absolutely.
push whenever I need it.
Absolutely.
Right. But that's great to have. The reason I wanted to kind of point that out is because I know early in my business, I would have a young black belt come up and put them through the instructor program and teach them how to teach, and then they would get an opportunity to go to work in management somewhere, getting paid more than I could even think about paying them at the time. And it was heartbreaking, and
Yeah.
sometimes it was like, oh, how could you do this to me? But what I learned over time, and I really appreciate about your perspective, is the honest truth is they are a resource for me.
Yeah.
But the other side is I had God gave me an opportunity to touch their life.
Absolutely.
And put them in a direction, or to
Absolutely.
help them to get into a direction that works for them. And I think that's a powerful thing for people to learn when you're self-employed and you're growing a small business. So that was a great perspective to bring up. So you probably hit on it a little bit. What are some of the challenges you face?
Price of oil.
The price of oil. That's right.
You were raised in it. You understand.
Absolutely.
We watch it. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. And
Right.
it's kind of the grasshopper ant philosophy. We can live like there will be no tomorrow, and there will be no tomorrow.
Right.
Or we can kind of try to prepare and try to build our business for a little bit of longevity. And that's one of the first things that in talking to you, one of the first topics I brought up is in the oilfield service and even in production, you see it's kind of a popcorn effect. You see them come up and they go away.
Right,
They come
right.
up and they go away.
Right.
And I've noticed that in your industry as well. It's
Yes, sir.
First thing I ask you is how you stuck it out so long?
Right.
What are you doing different than everybody else? Because I can apply it to what I do.
Right.
Maybe a different different slice
Different
of the pie.
size. That's right.
So, but yeah, it's the price of oil and just the daily wear and tear. You get a guy, I've had a truck driver call me and said, I'm loaded and I have 2 wheels and tires and I have no idea where they're at.
That's not a problem most people deal with on a daily basis, but hey.
I feel the sweat break out. It's like, are you okay?
Right.
I'm okay. Did you hurt anybody else?
Right.
I've hurt anybody else. All right, I'll be there in a minute.
Right.
Just that kind of stuff.
Right.
Just the mechanical breakdowns. Money's always tough.
Right.
But that's any business to do.
So you just said something else that was awesome that I don't know if people picked up on is you have a hand that calls.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a problem in your equipment.
Right.
You own the equipment, man, and it's not cheap equipment, right? It's not cheap at all. But your first concern was, are you okay? Are the people around you okay? Okay, now let's solve the
we
problem.
can deal with everything
Yeah,
else.
we can deal with everything else, right.
Everything else that we need to shift into a different mode and start getting people taken care
Well,
of.
what that says is you have a heart, and the heart's not just for the money. But the money's important at the end of the day, but the reality is your relationships, your team, and the people that they touch matter.
Absolutely.
Right? And that was really powerful. I don't know. I picked up on that as you said that, and that's an important thing for people to hear, man. It's not just about the money.
No.
It's not just about the money. It's about how we can serve and how we can take care of people. And I think many times, there's an old cliche saying that in business, the customer is always right. I actually disagree with that. The customer is not always right. And the most important people in the business are your team.
Absolutely.
Because I can't have marketing if I don't have a team in a marketing department that I've developed trust with and relationships with. And so it's kind of an interesting perspective on business. And so you really hit on it right there, and that's cool. So what do you, you've kind of hit on it already, but what do you love about what you do? I know you said freedom, but...
Yeah, it's just, in the daily puzzle,
Right.
It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. I need a little bit of stress to be able to function right.
Right.
And in other jobs I've had, I've always been in a stressful environment, but I haven't always benefited from it. By the ability to solve a problem here, there's reward for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
So, and that's, I enjoy it to the point of being able to solve a puzzle and getting kind of a Pavlov's dog kind of deal like this.
Right.
Ring the bell, I get a treat.
Ring the bell, get a treat. Yep, we solved a problem. We get paid at the end of the day.
That's exactly
that's a positive thing.
And I think that's oversimplifying it, but that's it.
It is. Yeah, but that's what we have to do. Simplify things to make it digestible, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's interesting because I'm going to tie this to something else. I hope you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Have little guys come into the school, and they're making bad grades on the report card because in the martial arts school we check on report cards.
Absolutely.
And I'll have a kid bring a report card, and they'll have a bad grade, and sometimes it's an area, and sometimes it's all the class, and I go, first, you got an A over here. Let's focus on that, man. I'm proud of you for that. That took work. But then right here we got this C, man. So what happened? I always, I ask, because there's always a reason. And interestingly, I get this common answer, semi-common. I didn't turn in my homework. And you said you solve a puzzle, you get a reward. And I tell the kids, I'm like, look, man. So doing the homework is the work.
Right.
But getting the grade is the reward,
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
It's exciting to see the grade, so how could you not turn in your homework and want to kind of get that reward back, right?
Right.
And I think that's kind of interesting. So what I tell the kids, I say, look, man, have you ever had made a cake with your mom, or had your mom make a cake and then she put it on the counter and just say, let's look at it? And we're not going to eat it. We're just going to let it rot because we put in the work, but we're not going to enjoy the reward.
That's exactly right.
And they always look at me and go, no. And I go, then why don't you turn in your homework and get the cake back? The cake is the grade.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's awesome. All right, man. So I know you're busy. And I know there are days that I'll message you sometimes because you and I have a good relationship, and which I do with a lot of people. And I'll shoot it out and go, hey, Cody, miss you in class, or haven't seen you in a while. Man, we got a rig out on location. We've got deadlines we're trying to hit. And so the point of that is, I know you're busy. You're busy. You're raising a family. You're running a business. There's a lot going on. But you chose to put your kids and yourself in the martial arts classes with us. And so, as a super busy person, why did you do that?
As far as, it's not anything about me.
Cool.
It's about those two boys.
Yes, sir.
And giving them, well, it started out, you and I have a very, very clean relationship. It started out as a distraction.
Right.
I'm tired of the youth sports scene.
Right.
And I called Ben Parra because I've known Ben a long time, and it's like, what is, we're looking for the next thing. I found out both the boys had amblyopia.
Right.
They're blind in one eye.
Blind in one eye. What are you saying about one eye guys, man?
Well, it's going to get to that. I called Ben and I said, man, I'm looking for something I can protect their good eye, because it was still early on, and the doctor pretty much said if they lose their good eye, they're in trouble.
Right.
Which I know somebody that
I
knows
think
a
I've
lot
heard that
about
before.
it. Yeah, I know a guy that knows a lot about that. And I said, is this one of those deals that I can get them into, and it'd be, I don't have to worry about this so much, because I was a little freaked out about it at the time.
Right.
He said, what do you know about Chip Townsend? I said, absolutely zero. He said, well, I think at 3, he said, you lost an eye, and all the crazy, in his verbiage, and
Right.
all the crazy stuff he's done his entire life, he's done it with one eye, so I think your boys are probably going to be okay.
Right.
So it got to that, and after spending probably about 3 or 4 weeks there, I said, this is a lot more than just a distraction. This is something that is going in the direction that I want to go. They're hearing the same thing that they're hearing at home, and it's progressed, and it's turned into, I'm just a facilitator.
Right.
These guys are setting the pace.
Well,
it's not me.
FYI, you guys are freaking amazing kids,
Well,
and they're workers. It's awesome because no matter what's happening in the school, we have a lot of good kids in the school, but your two boys tend to stand out sometimes in that Miss Glenann can be walking by, or Miss Karen doing something, and they're some of the first ones, adults and all, to go, what can I do to help you with that? So, man, we've appreciated that, and it's awesome because that aligns with who we are, and happy to hear that we align with who you are. But anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, they're standing on the shoulders of giants, as am I. They got a. I didn't know it was not normal for your dad to have 2 jobs,
Right.
or your mom to be going to school full time, running 2 jobs,
Right.
to try to, after the bust in the 80s,
Right.
that, all the way back that, as far as you can tell, in our families, that you just work.
Right.
That's just what you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It taken to get out and get in the world to see that, the way I was raised, the people that raised me are uncommon.
Yes,
they're
sir.
workers.
Yes,
And I
sir.
know, just in our conversations, that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do. I grew up with, my parents have been married for over 50 years, and my dad worked in the oil field as well. He owned a welding and rig mechanic service for many years. Anyway, the point is the majority of my life, I watched him work Monday through Sunday.
Absolutely.
He would get some Sundays, take some, and he was owned his own business. So it was a choice. But it was one of those things where, but he was also so good at what he did, he was demanded.
Absolutely.
And so he got pulled a lot of different directions, which was good for him. But
I know you were way up in your life before you realized,
yes,
this is exceptional, but you've been drugged by your nose through it.
Yes, yeah, all your life, yeah. Well, I say sometimes, because people ask, because honestly, to run a martial arts school and it be your life and living is kind of rare. It's kind of rare.
I know.
And so I tell people, Glenn, when we first bit this thing off, it was my passion.
Sure.
I freaking loved what I, teaching and training and everything else. And it was like we were too dumb to have a backup plan. We had, failure wasn't even in the brain. It wasn't like we sat down and went, okay, here's the failure plan and here's the success plan. We just went, okay, what do we do next? Today, let's make it happen. And that's what we did, so.
When I went to patrol school, my dad, he had a couple buddies. It has a high attrition rate.
Right.
And I'd signed up for it. I'd never been in a patrol car. The first day I had a job, I'd never even ridden with a cop.
Right.
Until the first day I stepped in with my FTO. Wow. I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
But my dad, it's like, well, so-and-so's son played college ball and he washed out.
Right.
So I've already signed the papers. I don't have anywhere to go. I've already quit my job, so I've got to make this work. So it's 6.5 months of getting ground up like hamburger meat.
Right.
So, I mean, I know what you mean. I didn't have a plan B.
Right.
And that's pretty much how we live every day here. So, this has got to work.
Right.
The other option is, close the doors, and pretty much unemployable at this point.
That's funny. That's hilarious when you say that.
So, but
unemployable, by the way, if he ever shut down his business and need a job, he'd be the first guy you'd want to hire, man, because he'll work circles around anybody. So, well, that's cool. So I want to get back to our martial arts conversation. That's good stuff. So you chose to put the boys in it for something kind of different.
Sure.
And they both kind of come up with an eye issue that you were a little bit worried about. But you said you realized in a few weeks it's
a lot more.
It was a lot more than what you had anticipated and expected. If I'm going to kind of put you on the spot to maybe say a couple of words about what does that mean more.
Just the culture and the environment. In fact, you and I last night, that little training session we did last night, we were visiting with the kid, and he rattled off a couple things that were kind of nonsensical in this, and you come up that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time around.
Right.
And I'm trying to tell the kid, hey, come hang out with us.
Right.
It's like,
yes, sir.
And that same thing applies to my children as well. Right. I want to put them, I'll outlaw a friend really quick.
That's called parenting, baby. Good job.
But if I see what benefits, and I'm gonna plug them into the direction I want them to go. It's up to me to build and set up opportunities. Yes. Now, what they do with it's up to them. And that's what I told them. So any of y'all turn out to be turds, then we're gonna have a different conversation.
We might make some changes.
That's exactly right. But right now, the decisions they're making is they want to be there.
Right.
It's not. I don't have to force them. But initially, you got to prime the pump.
Yes. I love the oil field language. Prime the pump. That's right. You got to get things moving.
That's exactly right.
And what that is not to take anything away from what you said, is parenting, man.
Absolutely.
We know what's best for them. We make their decisions. It blows my mind, Cody. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody walk in and go, well, I'll give you a particular instance. I had a parent walk up to me next to the door of our gym as her kids are training, and she says, Chip, this was probably 20 years ago. This is the best money we have ever spent.
Absolutely.
Ever spent on our children. And I'm a stupid kid. I'm just like, awesome. They're going to be here for the rest of their lives, right?
Right.
And pretty young in the business, and she's a super sweet lady. The kids are good kids. They're, 4 belts in. And literally a week later, I get a knock on my office door, and she walks in, and she says, Chip, I'm sorry to tell you, but the boys are quitting. 1 week from the day she stood in the doorway, and that popped in my head, and I looked at her, and I said, okay, did I do something? Oh, no. Did something happen to them in class that I don't know about? No. And I said, so can you tell me what happened? And she goes, well, the younger son, who at the time was 7, came home from school that day and said, Mom, I don't want to go anymore. And she looked at me and she told me that. And I said, that's it? And she goes, yes. And I said, this is before I had a filter. I said, so who's the parent? Your 7-year-old or you? And I lost a student for life at that moment. But the point was I'm completely and utterly shocked at how many people will say, well, when they decide. And there are certain things that I think that's agreeable, but there are certain things in life that are non-negotiables that I
Sure.
think we just as parents have to put our foot down and decide. So I think it's really powerful that you said that. I mean, to veer off too much into parenting, but
My boys they're smart enough to know not to say I don't want to do something,
Right.
Because we're fixing to do that a lot,
right.
But they'll, early on it was like, my tummy hurts. So it'd be great for a tummy ache. Go put your crap in the pickup and let's set up a team shift.
Get to class.
And afterward, I know, if they were legitimately sick or legitimately
Sure.
hurt,
Well,
watch
that's where the
like-
parent wisdom kicks in. You
That's
know the
it.
difference. It's like when you're teaching class and little Johnny gets tapped on the nose and he starts crying. You go, it wasn't that bad, but it shocked him.
Yeah,
I know it shocked him, and it's okay.
Watching Colin spar, and he's like, eyes are crossed. He says, son, you get tired of getting kicked in the head yet? Yes, well, get your arm up there.
Look! Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered the what keeps you guys coming. So I'm going to ask you, because you do train with us, and even from a parenting perspective, if there's somebody out there that's watching this like on the fence, either for their kids or for themselves, I'm a busy guy, I don't have time, or I've thought about that for my kids, but I'm not sure if it's for them. What advice would you give somebody to just take the step? And it doesn't have to be Team Chippa. We're so passionate about martial arts. I've actually sent people to other schools. So I just want to see people get into martial arts. So
Right.
what would you say to them?
For me, I don't know anything else but y'all,
Right.
except through, like Ben and,
Sure,
and the
sure.
other things and some of the guys that you brought in. But what I'm seeing as a baseline is the culture's the same.
Right.
And for me, it could be underwater basket weaving. If we could find this culture and this environment in an underwater basket weaving class, man, we'd be there.
Right.
But I doubt it.
Right. True.
But, it's take the step not because of all the things that martial arts will bring you, but because you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around with the most.
Right.
You want to put your kids in an environment where, I look at, number one, your kids, guys like Zeke Merchant, other guys that have come through, and JT Coffer that have trained the boys,
Right.
that they're exceptional people.
They are. Yes, sir.
And me, as you talk about the parenting side of it, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to plug them into these people, and that way they see it's good to be good at what you do.
Yes, sir.
I was raised in a sports environment in Hawley, Texas, where my senior year we went 1-10. We went or 1-10. We won that one because the other team had to forfeit because they didn't have an eligible player,
Right.
and it was okay to lose.
Right.
It was a culture of losing, and it took me to make a couple of steps in life. If you step in the Marine Corps, there's no culture of losing there.
And that's another thing. Your
Yeah.
time in the Marine Corps is very powerful as well.
And that's, you're expected to win.
Right.
And it took me, I had to get my brain pulled out, shaken up, and stuck back in before. And that culture of winning exists in this environment, and you have to me, push your kids in that direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why we do it.
Right.
And I understand everybody has to find their own reason for everything they do, but for
Absolutely.
me, it's the culture.
Yes,
Purely.
sir. Well, it's interesting because people don't quit jobs.
Mhm.
People quit cultures and people quit bosses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's powerful. And interesting, we've had a lot of students quit us because the culture didn't fit them.
Oh.
And it is what it is. But and you've mentioned winning. We never ever stress winning at the expense of the rules.
Absolutely.
Or at the expense of the health of anybody else. So, as long as it's fair and you work hard, never be outworked, man.
That's exactly
So,
right. And
cool.
that was the last point of the deal is it's a lot of hard work, and that's the number one thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. So, you don't have to say who gave it to you, but if you had one piece of advice that you'd be willing to share that you can you feel like is one of the best pieces of advice you ever received, what would that be?
You can overcome a serious lack of talent with violence and aggression.
Was that from the Marines?
No.
No?
Well, he was a Marine. He was a Marine first sergeant. He passed away. He was my first highway patrol sergeant. His name was Carl Mayfield, and he was probably one of the most influential people in my life. He passed away of cancer when he was 44 years old.
Wow.
But he, some of this, like that flashlight right there,
Yes, sir.
is a reminder of him. He said, you spend 1 year. We're in a duty station, a high volume duty station that people would rotate. You do your
Right.
year and you go on. And I spent 4 years with him. And he said, you spend 1 year with me, I'll buy you a flashlight. And that's the flashlight.
That was that's awesome.
So, but he, as far as just powerful men that he said, just don't ever stop.
Right.
You know, you may not know what you're doing. Just act like you do till someone does. It shows up.
Right.
Because that's a lot of the situations you get into. You step out of your car and it's just like tunnel vision. It's like, holy crap! How am I going to sort all this
How am I
out?
gonna sort
Everybody's looking at me to have the answers, and I don't
Yes.
have all the answers.
Exactly.
So he said, you can make up a serious lack of talent with violence and aggression, which goes back to the Marine Corps. But you'll just keep hitting and don't quit until
Right.
things work themselves out.
Absolutely. Perseverance, never give up,
That's
and
it.
never be outworked. It's those two things, right?
Yes, sir.
Just over and over and over. It's the pattern. So, one last thing. So, I know you read, and so if you had one book you could recommend to anybody, what would that book be? What's a super influential book you've read?
Actually, Bobby McCoy, one of my partners, he recommended a while back Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes, sir.
But it, you look at guys and you think that it's, they're born with skills and stuff like that, and you're a good example, but you see when you really break down the stories, there's a lot of work that
Right.
goes into being
Right.
really good at what you do.
Absolutely.
And that kind of outlines it. And for me, it goes back to the parent aspect. I want to set my boys and my kid, even my grandkids now, up in a situation to where they're provided opportunities to be exposed to people that know how to do what they do.
Right.
And that's what it all cooks down to. You set up opportunities.
Absolutely.
And it's a good book that explains of how that's been done in certain circumstances.
In different areas and industries and sports
Like
and stuff, right?
Bill Gates, his parents put him in a situation to where
Right.
he had access to a
to
computer
program.
way before everybody else did.
Yes.
And at 18, 19 years old, he's approaching the 10,000 hour master.
Right.
And
Very
then
powerful.
when it blows up, he's way ahead of the curve.
Awesome.
Not that he's this super business running dude. It's just that he's working within his passion. He's had a lot of exposure to
You
it.
gotta right, exactly. Well, good stuff, man.
Yes, sir.
I cannot thank you enough
My pleasure,
for your
sir.
time.
My pleasure, sir.
It's been an honor, and appreciate all you guys jumping in. Tons of golden nuggets here, guys, on the Chip Live video today. Hope y'all enjoyed it. If you do, shoot us a comment, a thumbs up, like something, and let us know. And again, Mr. Cody, you're awesome. We
Yes,
love you
sir.
guys and appreciate y'all very much.
All right.